Welcome to Ren Behind the Practice. I'm Sophie Campisi. I'm a holistic business strategist, and I spend a lot of my time in conversation with practitioners, coaches, and healers about the behind the scenes of their businesses. What I started noticing is that some of the most honest, important conversations about building a practice were happening quietly, one-on-one, behind the scenes, and often in isolation. Most practitioners are incredibly skilled at the work that they do with their clients, but very few of us were ever taught or trained in how to build successful startup businesses. And suddenly, we're left trying to figure it out on our own. This podcast exists to bring those conversations forward: the dreams, the uncertainty, the highs and lows, the recalibrations, and the messy middle. My hope is that by normalizing these conversations, we can soften the stigma, feel less alone, and start closing the gaps together. Today's guest is Elisabeth Wilt. Elisabeth is a holistic doula and women's health coach, aiming to help women learn more about their bodies while feeling loved and supported. Elisabeth, it's so great to have you here with me today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be talking all things about my business. I love my business, so this is always a fun topic.
Yay. Before we look behind the scenes today, can you share with us a little bit about the work that you do?
Okay, so I am a holistic doula and a women's health coach. And so I primarily help women from fertility and menopause and everything in between. I am like your whole woman guide. This work I've been doing since I've pretty much been 18. But I always say that it began with my personal story of hitting puberty when I was 11. And I feel like since that moment, I've always been guided towards helping women without even really knowing it. Because I was originally going to be a business manager and own my own thrift store. That's where I was originally going to be. And then this kind of came to me, and that was where I was led. So I hope that kind of answers the question a little bit. I
Yeah.
know we're going to get into a lot in this episode. So
Was there something specific that had you, typically the phrase that I use is like, we answer the call to service. Was there a specific thing that had you be like, oh, this is what I'm meant to be doing? I need to dedicate my time, my energy, my resources to taking on whatever I need to take on to serve the women that I'm meant to serve.
I, like many women, have not had not heard of a doula before. Of course, I was 18 at the time. And I was originally going to take the course and the training when I had children, when it was my time to be a mother. That was what I thought it was going to be. And when someone brought it up to me and they're like, no, it doesn't matter what age you are, where you are in your life. If you are feeling a call to like help women in these spaces, then just go with it vibe. So pretty much when that light was shown upon it, it was kind of like a mental awakening, so to speak, because I did at one point think I was going to be a midwife, but I'm not always the quickest on my feet. And I was like, I'm not having that if something happens when you really need a midwife. So that's why I've been called that this is a much better space for me.
I've had two home births, and so I'm personally aware of the process and the doula care and midwifery and everything, and of course appreciate it so much and value it enough because that's how I've had both of my children so far. So yeah, love it. How do you think about this work in your life right now? Is it something you're hoping to grow into a full-time business? Is it something that lives more kind of as a doing it next to other things for the long term?
Right now, it currently is part-time just because the education of what a doula is and why we are so important. People aren't at that place where they fully understand that yet. So the education part of that is what's sucking up a lot of time. So the goal is to make it a full-time because this is my heart. This is where I'm like, yes, I love this. I like anytime someone even just acquires or asks me a question, I'm like, oh, and alive, kind of almost like I say, like a phoenix rising out of the ashes. But I get that on the daily when I get someone talking to me. So the plan is to make it a full time and hopefully have coworkers alongside me with the goal. So.
So when you look ahead to the next 6 to 12 months, what goals do you have for your work?
So the goals right now, they're a little of an extensive list. So I'll just give you like the top two, really. The main goal that is really coming to mind is actually just getting people to be aware of what a doula is. I have a very big education campaign that I'm hoping to get. I live in a very rural province where I always like to say, if I want to go to Walmart, I pretty much have a 2-hour drive to get to one. So with that being said, my clientele is very space spaced out. So I've started to make a list of communities in that 2 hour radius, so to speak, of north, south, west, and east. And I am going to do a major education campaign of what a doula is, where is like workshops or getting community outreach with like local libraries, chiropractors, and different other modalities of health that you might look to for these kind of times. And my second big goal that I've really got planned is I want to make a community where women of all ages can start leaning on each other. We live in a very time where we've kind of really kept separate, whereas in the past we had women, our elders that we would look to for advice. So I want to make a space, either online or in person, I have yet decided, where you would get all those levels of women helping each other. Similar to a red tent, but more on like a broader scale where you are talking so much more than just cycle health. Whether it be mom to mom help or, those that are going through the change of menopause. Like I want those different conversations to be had. And even someone like myself or yourself, one day will reach menopause. So why not start learning now from women who are going through it or have it or like have passed it. So those are kind of the big goals that are in the works over here for Women Doula Services.
Is part of that to like with the education campaign? Well, let's start there. Is that to raise awareness, to
Yes.
ultimately, like raise that temperature for people to ideally at some point hire their doula? It's kind of like laying the foundation for what you think it's going to take to have clients in the future.
Yes, I think at this time, and I did a workshop recently on this where I stated was my job wouldn't exist if we had the same communities that we had in the past. It's sad to say, I love the work that I do, but it is very much that because we've lost that help from mothers, sisters, aunts, that when someone has a new child and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm all alone doing this, that's where people need to be like, okay, yes, I need a doula because I don't want to be alone doing it. But if we had more of that community, like, oh yes, my neighbors are very good. This person's going to bring me food. This person might come to help around the house a little bit. And then you go and do the same, then my job would not be as necessary. So that's why I say I'm kind of like a Nanny McPhee of doulas, because I'm like, I'm trying to promote that we kind of go extinct in the future, hopefully, that other people would get the support from their locals around them.
Yeah, I think it'll just be really interesting to see how communities evolve. I think there are some ways that we all end up localizing back down and becoming more living day to day as a village. But I heard a lot of people say, and of course I'm a mom, and so I am paying attention to the conversations of other moms, and a lot of them say like, I have to hire my village to create my village. And I have it, but I have to hire it and piece it together and have the money to be able to create that village for myself because it's not built in any longer,
Yeah.
generally speaking. Yeah. You named some of these things, but what feel like the steps, the action steps that it's going to take to get there, to make that happen? You're laying the foundation, but hopefully the goal is to get clients and start building a client base. What are some of the actual action steps that you think it's going to take?
Well, currently I'm at the very like beginning stages. I'm right now really just creating the list, outreaching to these organizations to see if we could hang flyers. Can we do a pop-up like, hey, this is what a doula is in that area? Which those are kind of the first, I would say, three big components of like actually outreaching, finding out what is available there, and then actually doing it, as I say. And with that, I'm hoping that I can spread enough awareness about it that, oh, hi, Sally Sue started talking to Mary Lou over there, and they both are kind of sharing the word a little bit as well. I put in a few initiatives that are hopefully going to gather more people my way. I do a sliding scale option. So I have three different tiers where maybe it'll make it more manageable for support regarding where people are at. And then I'm also having a form of like an affiliate program. So I want you talking about me. The goal is that I'm hoping I can have my own training where you guys could come in and continue the work where I'm doing because I am one person and I can't support the entire world. So with that being said, you talking about it would benefit you in the end too. I'm not the type of person like, okay, here's a cash cow and I take it all from me. No, I am about sharing the love. So I've really tried to put these implements in place to hopefully get more people out there talking about it. And it's really just going to be about reaching those people in the right way, hopefully.
Do you have an idea of the types of people? I don't know how the size of your community, but do you have an idea of the types of markers that would signify someone that's a good fit for the services that you provide?
Well, I live in a very rural area. So a lot of the people here are either farmers or, they kind of work in the industry of agriculture in some way. And so a lot of the times they are on farms on grid roads that are about 20 to 30 minutes away, even from a local village or a community or anything like that. So I know I'm just speaking from a previous experience of a client I did have. She pretty much was about an hour and a half drive for me, but half an hour to 45 minutes of it was literally just dirt roads. And by the time that you reach your house, here's a house, picture fields and fields and fields, just one house. No neighbors, nobody around. And that's what I told her. I'm like, what are you going to do in the winter? And I told her, if you ever get pregnant again, please make sure you plan that a little bit better so you don't end up getting stuck having this baby unassisted at home or anything like that. With that all being said, the premise of the markers that I'm looking for is the people that don't have good family connections. In her case, her mother was in driving enough distance, but a lot of people have moved to this country from other countries. We have a lot of peoples from Philippines, China. I'm just trying to think of like a few of the nationalities here. There's so many, but those kind of people often come alone. They don't have mothers, grandmothers, and they're used to a community effort. So that's kind of really the vibe I'm going for, is those that are really lacking that support here. And I know that not everyone has it. I come from a very good home myself, that I do have lots of support, which makes this so much easier for me because I'm supported well in my background. So it gives me more opportunity to love and care on my clients and potential clients out there who are listening.
What feels hard about all of it, getting to the next steps? Are there any things that are getting in the way? Are there any areas that feel like hurdles that are like that I'm not sure about that seems extra hard or that has me feeling heavy?
The biggest hurdle is a few of the people that have, like, I try to do some vendor shows, things like that to get out there a little bit. And a few of the people that have walked by are like, oh, we don't really need that here. This is not something that's important or anything. And oftentimes it comes from a place of women that are a little bit older or past that time in their lives. And maybe they don't see the support as necessary, maybe because they had more of it back then. I'm just speaking from my own experience that I had a lot of community support when I lost my grandmother last year. And that's not something anyone my age would do. It sounds really rude to say, but a lot of the people that did come and support us were of an older generation. And so I've always posed the question back to them, who helped you the most in your day? And then I tell them the story because I'm originally from Ontario, like Toronto area. So I'm used to like skyscrapers and condos and things like that. And I told them is that oftentimes people will be in a building and there's maybe 2,400 people in that building, yet nobody knows anybody in that building. Nobody comes to check in. If, we've heard so many stories of people who have passed away in their own home and nobody knows that there's someone that's passed away right above you in the room up above. So I try to pose that question to these farmer wives that live in the middle of these open spaces. The three neighbors that knew each other helped each other out. So that's what I try to pose. And I think that's kind of my bigger hurdle, is if that's the message they're spreading about the work that I do, it's going to be a little extra step harder to tell some of the generations that do actually need it.
Totally. I mean, statistics show that it's the hardest time to be a parent and starting a family since World War II. And
Yeah.
I've been really interested in that. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I've looked into it and I've done some research and trying to figure out like, why is that? What are the actual things that are contributing to that? And there's lots of different things that end up coming down to what you said. It's just the lack of village and the ways that it shows up in so many different ways that older generations don't even realize that slipped away, either
Yeah.
because they're just not realizing it or they're still, like you said, kind of operating in that way because that's all they knew. But the fact that you might have an emergency. This is something that I've thought about before. You might have an emergency or you just need to go get something really quick and you have a sleeping baby and you can't just hop over to the neighbor and say, "Hey, can you just come over here for 15 minutes?" Like
Yeah.
that's a rare that's a
Yeah.
rare connection. And that is mind blowing. And that, of course, obviously became even, safety. Well, what's going to happen? And if you don't really know them that well, and just all of these things, it's like, or just that they would feel like, huh, why is she asking me that? That's weird. Something as simple as that, when you're a mom and you have young kids, especially when you have multiple, um, the biggest way that I've seen what you're talking about is the way for me that lack of village, my best way to describe it is people will offer big help, oh, take your kids for this. It's like, I don't want that. I don't want to be away from my kids. It's the micro moments of help throughout the day. No, it's those little
Yeah.
things. I don't need these great, like, I have babies, I have little kids. I don't want to be far from them. My nervous system isn't set up for that. They're not meant to be far from me. So, no, I don't need you to take my kids and have them a sleepover or have them for several hours. Like it's the micro moments of help throughout the day, that second pair of hands for 10 minutes when one is struggling or having a meltdown. It's like that is how it's showed itself. It's like if you're living in a village and hey, that neighbor is out there with her kids. Hey, can you hold this baby really quick? Like
Yeah.
you just need the 5 minutes or the 10 minutes, like these micro things too. But a lot of what community where neighbors are really far.
Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry.
Gotta love that
Oh
internet,
my
eh?
God. What was the last thing that you heard me say before I cut out?
It was about your take on the village, and then you kind
Yeah.
of froze with your hands up a little bit in the air. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think that younger generations of women do know that they're missing that, even if they don't know
yeah.
exactly how. So obviously, I believe in what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, we crave that help. We crave that support. We don't know exactly what that looks like, especially for a first time mom. We can't anticipate what we'll need, but I think we're craving it and we're aware that it's not there. Yeah. Anything else that feels hard? Anything that feels heavier than it should?
Those are kind of the really big stressors of like this business is if you have the other generations kind of tearing down this like, oh, that's not that important or things like that. So that's when I feel a little more discouraged or kind of like when there's a scoff by if you walk by someone at vendor shows. So I try to keep a very head up high kind of routine. I know that the work I'm doing is needed. It's essential. I live in a province that has about 1 million people in it, and we're vast category, but there's only 200, maybe 150 active doulas in this area. And not all of them are being hired to the point where their calendars are full. So obviously, we need to start making this a little bit more loud and proud, so to speak.
Wow. Yeah, totally. What's the cost? What's the cost if it doesn't happen, if you aren't able to raise the temperature on awareness and find the people that need you, find the women and the mothers that need your support? What's the cost to you, to others, to the world?
To me, I'll say that my heart will probably be broken. Like I said, it's something that really lights me up. And I made a post about this recently on the internet too, was that as a community, when you shop local, it's you are literally giving someone part of their purpose. This is work that I can't do if it doesn't exist with you feeding it or other people feeding into it. So that's number one. Is really the cost to myself, but the cost to everyone else is that lack of community. I think we live in an era where we do have the power of social media, internet, that we can so easily communicate with people through texting, easy, quick calls with cell phones. And yet, I'm Gen Z technically. As I always say, like, part of our generation doesn't even want to pick up the phone. Like, I'd much rather answer a text than I would a phone call. Yet, what was the purpose of a cell phone? So that we could connect easily with people. And we would be at the drop of a hat, be able to pick it up. And yet, we practically want nothing to do with each other. There are stories in my local community where a mom, she literally had the cart kind of broke on her and her 18-month-old baby fell out of it. And all of the groceries, 6 people stand around gawking at her and not a single one comes to help because I'm going from multiple sides to this, but some people are afraid that, oh, maybe if I interfere they won't They won't want that. But then there's the other side of like, oh, they don't need me. She's got it. She's like the boss mom or whatever, right? But all of these stories is just more of people not helping each other. And you had said it too so clearly earlier, where all I need is 5 minutes to run the store. So could someone watch baby for a minute? Could someone grab me that thing that I need at the store that doesn't have a cost involved because we're just bartering our own love and compassion for each other. So I guess that's the cost is everyone else is losing humanity and the love for one another.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's it's the hardest time to raise kids since, like I said, World War II, and the highest rates of people not having kids, which is totally fine for people's choice. But something that I experience as a mom is uh, for myself and for others, is like there is no more important work because this is our society in 40 years. This is our society in 50 years. And the people that, might look down on moms or see it as a second class job or unworthy work. I'm like, yeah, well, the work that you're doing to sell a product or have a business, who's going to be your customers in 50 years?
Yes.
Our kids. Like, we are doing the work that will keep everything going. There is no more important work. There is nothing more valuable than supporting moms. We need it. Of course, this isn't my profession. I'm just passionate about it because not even for myself, but for others as well. Of like, I feel that sometimes. And, of course, I still work and I work with amazing people and I have amazing peers because of the industry that I work in, which I'm so grateful because someone like you is my peer. And most people in our pocket of the world are so compassionate and have this bigger vision and are so understanding of so many of these things. But there are pockets of the world that I've been in where I absolutely have felt like a class citizen, or, me being a mom was to tarnish my career, tarnish other things that I did. And that's, I mean, it's just brought up, it's been so many things, but it's just also like what I said is there is no more important work than this. And the work that you're doing to support moms and have moms feel supported so that we can raise also healthy. Our younger generations are struggling. Mental health is not good. We need moms to be more supported so that also we're not just raising kids, but we're raising healthy kids.
Yeah.
um, our society and the future of our society and the world depends on it. It depends on moms being supported so that they can show up and raise their kids in the way that sets the foundation for the future.
Well, my real big focus is to help women as a whole. I mean, I think the men probably need much more support as well. It's just, I think I speak greater to women because I am a woman. So I'm sure there is someone eventually out there for the men as well. But, we have women that sometimes they have doctor appointments like for endometriosis or fibroids or something, and they have to go for surgery or things like that. And oftentimes they're alone as well. And I think having more of that group effort where friends are around you, supporting you and loving on you through all the times. That's why I'm really there for the whole woman's health because we need it. To be frank, we just need it. So I'm I'm fully with you and hopefully this somewhat spread the word to some people that are like, "Hey, maybe I need to be my own little inner doula to help love on people because it really just means a woman or a person that serves."
So beautiful. Elisabeth, thank you so much for joining me today to have this conversation.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And for those of you who are listening, if any part of this resonated, you're in the right place, please reach out. I want to hear from you and I want to connect. And if you want to reach Elisabeth directly, the link to her website and her social media handle are in the show notes. Thank you so much. And we will see you for the next episode of Ren Behind the Practice.